source of this blight is out there. Its black tendrils reaching for us. We will seek it out and purge it!
What's up guys, Lifting here. In this video I'm going to demonstrate 5 solid builds for Path of Exile's 3.8 Blight League. If you like this type of content, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more in the future. And a big thanks to my patrons as always. Let's get into it. The first build on this week's list is a minor Saboteur build by no other than Windz, a person who have contributed content and guides for a long time in the Path of Exile community, so you may have seen his name around. The interesting thing about mines is that in 3.8 Blight League, the way they work got completely redone. Instead of placing them at your feet, they are now thrown in the direction you aim, similar to how traps work. And you gotta wonder if we're maybe doing it wrong in real life. I mean, why place a bear trap if you can just apparently throw it directly at the bear? Gotcha, it bitch. Seems much more time efficient. But anyway, besides, the first mine you now throw in-game will detonate instantly, and if you throw multiple mines, they will detonate in an accelerating sequence based on the distance of your detonation target. Mines now also have an aura component to them, and they will reserve a fixed flat amount of mana equal to the mana cost of the skill, while also now being able to scale from aura modifiers. Windz build is primarily focused around the new Pyroclast skill, a mine that deals fire damage in an area once detonated and then rains projectiles down upon the foes around it. The build also used the new Icicle mines that, when detonating, fires projectiles in a Nova-like fashion, dealing cold damage to enemies it hit. Combined, these make for a true song of ice and fire. And who has a better story to tell than Windz the Wise? The second build on this week's list is an Arakaali's Fang Witch by Skyscan. This is an interesting build whose sole premise relies on the unique dagger Arakaali's Fang. Let's take a look at the dagger and I will explain how it works. From the description we can see that amongst other stuff it has the affix 100% chance to trigger level 1 raise spider on kill. And don't let that level 1 part fool you. It is these spiders that make up the concept of the build, and they are more than capable of handling any content in the game if built correctly. To efficiently spawn the max limit of 20 spiders, you're going to be using Desecrate linked with Spell Cascade, and then use a charge of your worm flask to spawn 2 worms. Then by killing 1 worm you will generate 2 spiders per nearby corpse, and with the Desecrate setup you'll have more than enough corpses to reach the maximum amount of spiders in a single kill. With the duration modifiers from the Necromancer ascendancy and the skill tree, the uptime of the spiders will be more than enough to grant you ample time to refill your worm flask many times over for whenever you need to resummon your spider minions. Besides the Arakaali's Fang and Writhing Jar Flask, the build also feature items such as the Grip of Council Gloves, the Devouring Diadem and the Venomous Shroud chest armor. Skyscan's forum guide even includes the phrase "everything dead in 5x or your money back." No, not literally, I guess. But he's trying to prove a point here, which is that on what some consider a relatively low budget, you'll be able to deal with any content the game can throw at you. As with many builds, when they recommend a certain price threshold, you rarely need that amount to start playing the build though. You can farm that as you go in most cases, but it is important to understand that for this build, no dagger, no swagger. You need the dagger for this to work, and at the current time of publishing this video, the dagger is going for around 50 to 60 Chaos Orbs in Softcore Blight League, so if you want to try this setup, make sure you can at least afford the dagger beforehand. I also want to point out that due to the massive changes to the minions and the Necromancer itself, Skyscan is planning on making some changes to his build, so make sure to revisit the forum guide every now and then in case it has been updated. Coming up third is a Herald of Agony Marauder by Orion72. This here is what we in Denmark refer to as a thick boy. A thick boy is someone who will deliver a devastating Fugma assault and eat Ligma curry balls for breakfast simultaneously. That's how tanky he is. The build relies solely on the Agony Crawler minion as a way of dealing damage, and the Agony Crawler in itself is rather interesting, but can at a distance seem a bit confusing, so let me try to explain how it works. So first of all, Agony Crawler is a direct result of the Herald of Agony skill. Only when this is activated and you have at least one virulence buff active will the Agony Crawler spawn. This bad boy has 3 different ways of attacking. The first is a melee attack that it rarely uses, the second is a multiple projectile attack, and the third is an explosive barrage of projectiles that can hit for a ton of damage. To gain additional virulence stacks and thus further beef up the Agony Crawler, you need to apply as many poisons onto your enemy as possible. As for each poison you apply, you gain 1 virulence buff, with 40 being the maximum total. This is the reason why Orion's build used the Quill Rain unique bow. Due to the very high attack speed of this weapon, it is able to apply multiple poisons in a short duration for an effective way of generating virulent stacks quickly. And since you're relying on the Agony Crawler to deal the damage, the otherwise low damage of the Quill Rain is a non-issue. Terrain, another build creator I once featured, described the Agony Crawler as your very own personal artillery cannon, and I kinda agree with that statement. The Agony Crawler's damage often comes in heavy bursts followed by a short period of very little damage. Somehow, this is very satisfying. It's like you're being blue-balled for a week and then all of a sudden. Besides the Quill Rainbow, the build also features items such as the Thieves' Torment Ring that, when in combination with the rapid attack rate, is able to provide a ton of life and mana back on hit in a very short time. To further add to this, the build also used the Gluttony belt that, with its level 30 Poacher's Mark on hit, delivers another 34 life and 15 mana gain on hit, on top of what the Thieves' Torment already provide. It also works great in combination with Orion's Ascendancy choice for this build, the Juggernaut. With this, you have a chance to generate up to your maximum endurance charges when you take damage, and since this build can make you take 101 physical damage whenever you use a movement skill, these charges can pretty much be kept at a maximum all the time. To capitalize on that, the build uses a cast when damage taking setup with Immortal Call that, when procced together with a high amount of endurance charges, significantly reduce any incoming physical damage. It's worth knowing, however, that early level content with the Agony Crawler isn't very fast or satisfying, but as soon as it starts to pick up and you get some links on it, then that's when it begins. Coming up fourth on this week's list is a Freezing Pulse totem, and it is by Wallach. Freezing Pulse, first of all, is a cold-based spell that on its own deals a rather significant amount of damage. It fires out a cold-based projectile that pierces all targets. The projectile deals full damage at its cast, but then quickly fades as it travels further outwards. An interesting aspect to this is that projectile speed modifiers effectively work as a way of increasing this skill's AoE, as they allow the projectile to travel further away. Imagine you're stretching the skill, so to speak. Another benefit to this is that the point of where the Freezing Pulse projectile starts to fade is pushed out further, and the damage or the full damage potential of the skill can thus be applied to monsters at a greater distance. Wallach combine the Freezing Pulse skill with the Spell Totem support gem and thus effectively turn a self-cast spell into a totem that now uses the Freezing Pulse skill. He then combines this with the Hierophant Ascendancy that, through the Pursuit of Justice keystone, enables you to summon an additional totem, effectively doubling your potential damage output. Once you get further into the game, it is recommended you get the Soul Mantle chest armor, as through this you will be able to ditch the Spell Totem support gem in favor of another support gem. This is because the Soul Mantle comes with an implicit Spell Totem support, which results in a 6-link effectively functioning as a 7-link. The Soul Mantle also enables the player to summon yet another totem that, when combined with Ancestral Bond, makes up for a total of 4 totems, and through this obviously adds another huge damage boost to the setup. The Soul Mantle doesn't come without its downsides though. Whenever a totem dies, you will get inflicted with a random level 20 curse, and this can of course be very detrimental in the wrong situation. However, Wallach presents a solution to that issue too, with the implementation of 2 Kikasaru rings and the Sanctum of Thought notable. Curses affecting you have their entire effectiveness reduced to 0%, basically allowing you to ignore them. Even better, with the implementation of the Self-Flagellation unique jewel, your character will, despite them no longer exerting a negative effect on you, still benefit from up to 20% increased damage per curse affecting you. So that means that all those curses that inevitably are going to be influencing your character will, rather than being a downside, instead become a way for you to scale your damage even further. If somebody asks me which types of totem builds I recommend for the current state of the game, I always say Warchief totems, Frostbolt totems, or Freezing Pulse totems. Those three are absolutely solid, and there are many other totems that you can do, but those are a given and are definitely worth checking out if you like totem builds. The fifth and final build on this week's list is a cast on crit Ice Nova and Frostbolt build by CheeQu. And before we begin here, I do have to apologize because CheeQu doesn't provide a lot of video footage of the build. He just has some nice GIFs, and that's what I can show you. I'm not apologizing on behalf of CheeQu. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to. He doesn't need to create video footage for it. But I'm apologizing to you guys on my behalf because I would like to have shown you some more video footage of it. But either way, we're gonna do this a little fast because you'll watch this GIF 100 times if not. If you like shinies or getting constantly flashbanged, some people like that, I guess, then this might be something for you. CheeQu combined the high critical strike chance potential of the Assassin Ascendancy with the cast on crit support gem to support and proc Ice Nova. On top of that, he used the Cosper's Malice sword that in this case in practicality functions similarly as to having an additional cast on crit setup to proc alongside your main one. In Cosper's he adds Frostbolt and yet another Ice Nova. In basic terms, this means that whenever he crits, he is effectively and constantly proccing 3 different skills with the Frostbolt and Ice Nova in the Cosper serving in sequential proc order. The Ice Novas will deal with anything in close range, and the Frostbolt takes care of anything at a greater distance. With Cosper's Malice only costing around 50 to 60 Chaos Orbs at this point of time in the league, and the Like Cozy Day shield a meager 5 to 10 Chaos Orbs, it isn't even a particularly expensive setup to get up and running neither. Your main expense will be to eventually get the Lore Weave 6-linked, but it is important to understand that you don't necessarily need a 6-link to begin with, of course. You'll do perfectly fine with a 5-link, especially if you already have the Cosper's Malice sword, but you could probably make it work even without that. One thing to say though is that while cast on crit builds can be very fun to play, they do add a different or another layer of mechanics to try and understand for it all to eventually play out and function optimally. So if you're new to the game or haven't played any cast on crit builds before, then make sure to take your time and read properly through the guide or maybe try out something else. And that's it, guys. There is no bonus build today, and that is, I take that upon me. It is my fault, and it is because my computer broke a couple of weeks ago, and it's taken a very long time to get back up and running to the point where I could create videos again. So I'm completely behind on schedule, but I'm trying to catch up. There will be a new build video next week. I hope you look forward to that. If you do, don't forget to subscribe for the notification and ring that bell icon. Again, patrons, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, boys. Don't forget to stop by our Discord if you need help with Path of Exile or anything like that, or just want a friendly community to hang out with. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?